Hello, Motorrad World fans, and welcome to Talking MotoGP from the island, Phillip Island, the greatest track on the MotoGP calendar. I think that was cemented after this weekend's MotoGP race. It just proved what an amazing track it is. It proves great racing in any category, World Superbikes, MotoGP, whichever racing category goes there. It's just phenomenal racing, and I think it proved it once again this past weekend at MotoGP. So that's going to be a big topic of discussion is Phillip Island. What makes it such an exciting track for riders, bikes? What makes the racing so good when it comes to Phillip Island? And that's going to be a big talking point. There's the big Fabio Quartararo talking point. There's the big Marquez talking point. There's the big Brad Binder talking point. There's the big Darren Binder talking point. There's a lot of big talking points. So sit back, relax. Remember, it is a fully interactive kind of show. So we really want, I really want you to just shoot questions. Give me some feedback. If I get it wrong, it's not me saying everything and I'm right and you wrong. It's really about us. Motorrad World is for the fans, by the fans, and us MotoGP nutters. And this is a nice platform for us to all get together and just talk MotoGP, hence why we called it Talking MotoGP. Justin TP, Nicole Briett, Chris Williams, Rob Swart, Jacques Smuts, Joan Mulder, Brink Heinemann, Russell Edwards, Jonathan Murphy, Godfrey Rademalia, all the way from Somalia. He also tuned into the live. It was a spontaneous little live video that I did in the British Superbike paddock on Sunday. Can chat a little bit about that if we get some time. Anthony Carrero, evening Rob, what a lacquer weekend, Anthony. It certainly was. Beverly Peterson Urendal, hello Rob. Hello Beverly, the aunt to Cam Peterson, the spectacular Cam Peterson, who just never answers his WhatsApps. He just never. When I saw him in Texas in America earlier this year, I'm going to brighten myself up because I'm looking like I'm in load shedding, but I've got lots of power. And he said, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so busy. I really want to talk to you. So freaking fans and you, Uncle Rob, I love you. And just answer your WhatsApp. That's these races. They have one thing on their mind, and that's to go fast. So you can't blame them. Daniel Standuha, how's it, Uncle Rob, and everyone else? Gareth Hope Bailey, Joe Alves, Marco Neves, Yvonne Stainbridge Pretorius, evening Rob, what an amazing race, and wow to Alex Rins. Yes, Alex Rins, we've got to talk about him as well. Joe De Beer, Michael McDougall, Dennis Gawler, Sean P. O'Neill, Natalie Mayring, Douglas Tweak, evening Rob and fellow fan, hope it's going groovy. We miss you at the track, Rob. I do not know how to feel about KTM's performance. Just when you think they're going forward, they give a step back. Douglas, I miss everyone obviously in South Africa and the racetrack, that is for sure. And yes, I agree with you with KTM. Phillip Island, it was a strange one. We'll talk about it. It was a strange one. I don't think it's as bad as we think it is. We'll get into it. Bryce Rieder, Zenzi Mofokate, Gordon van Heerden, Aubrey Glasgow, Ian Luca Jefferson, Johan Venter, Dieter Winkler, Mariska Hutchinson, good evening, Rob, and everyone else. Yep, a lot of talking points after the very exciting Phillip Island race. Darren Brown, Mickey Teal, good evening, Rob, from my grandson, Liam Townsend, and I. Good to be listening to your feedback on the race tonight. Thank you, as always, Mickey and grandson, for tuning in. Really is amazing having you guys, especially when it's so late and the grandson still takes part. Absolutely love it. That's brilliant. Monica Greenfell, Amy Pretorius, Anthony Carrero. Any surprise guests for us, Rob? Anthony, I wish. It's just so hectic now from Phillip Island to Sepang. When they're in this rush period, it's almost impossible to get. I've sent a lot of emails, but it's impossible. But don't worry. After Valencia, as we always do, we will keep you as entertained as possible. We'll certainly hook up a live chat with Brad, with Darren, hopefully a couple of other riders. Simon Crayford, certainly we'll have a chat with him. So, yeah, we will have plenty of guests in the near future. Wayne van Minnen, Paul Haramser, Richard Walker, Stan Roberts, Tabiso Fire. Hey, Rob, if you don't greet me, I'm switching off. Tabiso Fire with the fantastic Fire boys. top talents in South African short circuit racing. So Tabiso, thank you so much for joining us. There's so many people joining us. Mark Dodgen, what a weekend's racing. I agree with you, Mark. Andrew Katay, how are you, Andrew? Hope you're keeping well that side, my bad. Gareth Lindemann, Adam Sweeting, Ati Herbst. Ati, hope you're doing well, my bad. Hope everything's going well that side in what I believe is very sunny and hot UK. Andre Velman, hi from UK, Epping or Epic? Epping or Epic or Epping is at the town. I'm in the UK now, but I literally know where I am, and that's about it. And where Brands Hatch is, and where Gatwick Airport is. Like, that's all I know. Anthony Carrera, and a special well done to Graham from Bidar. Graham from Bidar, my good buddy, a man I raced many times, a stalwart in South African motorcycle racing, the whole from Bidar family. But Graham and his son Jason coming up. So well done, Graham from Bidar, on winning yet another ZX10 Masters Cup title. Vince Ramsey, hi Rob, still nothing official on Darren. Nothing official on Darren. And I'm not too sure why it hasn't been put out, because yeah, it's, as far as I know, to be honest, it is a done deal. I know, I think it was in Mazzano, you know, the photo shoot and everything happened. So I haven't been at the track. I haven't really spoken to Darren or anything since. So, but as far as I know, I don't think anything's gone awry, and hopefully soon we will get the news of where Darren is going in Moto2. So let's see. Sven Grun, hey, how's it, Rob? Best race for a while. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sven. Daryl Portkitter, how's it from Belgium? Hey, Daryl, thank you so much for tuning in. Mitchell Rahman, hi Rob, how are you doing? So Mitchell, thank you so much for asking. I'm doing very well. I must also apologize to all Motorrad World fans for not putting up my paddock talks on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I've been occupied because finally, thank the Lord, finally, my beautiful family arrived in the UK with me Friday, the 7th of October. And I literally just took, I've taken the whole week or week and a half off to spend much needed time with my beautiful family. So I'll catch up with that from Sepang this weekend again. So all will be back to normal there. But yeah, it was just time to spend some much needed time with my beautiful wife, Amy, and my beautiful girl, Nova Lane, and my boy, Trey Knox. So yeah, getting our lives sorted here in the UK. Carmen Fisher, Darren did a sterling job out there this weekend. Some nice points. Miller broke my heart. Felt so cocked for him. Yeah, so Darren did a fantastic job. I'll start with Darren. I always knew Darren would go well at Phillip Island. It's a track that he loves, more fast flowing. I thought it would have suited the Yamaha a little bit better, but I've been telling you all throughout the whole season that the biggest problem, certainly that Darren has been talking about with the Yamaha, and what I can visibly see out on track, is stability. And with the wind and all those other factors at Phillip Island and the high speed, that stability, those stability issues just came to the forefront, and they really did battle with stability. But Darren, I really thought he was maybe going to battle with a little bit of arm pump, because it's such a physically demanding track. Sven Grun hit the nail on the head. When we used to race in East London, you could do 100 laps around Kyalami, 100 laps around anywhere else. But East London, because of the wind, and you're always fighting the bike against the wind, and those fast corners where you're always counter steering, and it really takes its toll on your arms. That's why I put the post up saying I was just watching those guys after 2 laps, and I thought, this is going to be arm pump city, because of the wind and the high speed and everything. And credit to all the riders. I think 1 or 2 maybe suffered with a little bit, but certainly no, drop off the end of the earth. People complaining, or riders complaining about arm pumps. So brilliant job by all the riders. Darren, getting back to Darren, I think he did a great job. He was mingling it up with some top riders early on. Then he started to drop back a bit, and you thought, oh no, Daz, and he just maintained it. Had a good battle with his teammate Cal Crutchlow. When Fabio Quartararo made that first mistake, he dropped into the clutches of Darren. I think he spent 2 or 3 laps behind Darren, couldn't make that move. So Darren showed some really good pace. And if you do the maths, and this is where you got to look further than just the results. And the general lap time is, in a 24-lap race, Darren finished 14 seconds off the lead. Now, that is, I can't think of him being closer the whole season. I think that's his best, the closest he's finished to the leaders. So in 24 laps, 14 seconds. And now you think at the start of the race, he already started, in 18th or whatever it was. So he first 2 laps, and I actually wanted to do the exercise before I came on air, but Bath kids, supper for kids, kiss kids, hug kids, and all that. And I didn't see how much time Darren actually lost within the first 2 or 3 laps, because that's generally when you lose the most, because you're fighting with other riders, you're trying to go around the outside, up the inside, in the start, you get kind of bottlenecked and stuff. So for Darren to finish 14 seconds behind in a 24-lap race, that averages out to like half a second a lap he's off, which is, to me, a phenomenal job. It proves once again that he's growing as a MotoGP rider. It's a pity he's not going to get this chance at a back-to-back season. I think that would have done him the world of good. It's been proven that he climbed on the Yamaha probably at the worst time. So his first season in MotoGP has been hampered by the fact that he's not on the best bike, not with the best team, but I think he's made the best out of it. That's just my personal opinion as fanboy and, Uncle Rob, and just a huge fan of the Binder boys in general, but also as journalist, editor, whatever you want to call it, critic. I really looked at that number and thought 14 seconds off, battling with Carl Crutchlow, with the issues that they had on the Yamaha, beating Remy Gardner at his home race, destroying Ralph Fernandez and some other guys. Top job, as Carmen said, a couple of points, 14th, a couple more points in the bag. It'll be nice if he can get just a couple more points and finish ahead of Dovi in the overall championship. Even though Dovi hasn't done the last couple of races, it's still a great thing for Darren. Just those kind of positives that he really needs to put out. Denise, not Dennis. Sorry, Denise. I like. Can you see me squinting? Like I quickly look at all the names and I don't say them properly. So Denise, not Dennis. Denise Gowler, thank you so much for joining us. There was a comment here that I wanted to answer. David Hawes, all the way from Joburg. Hey, David, hope you're keeping well. Bryce Reader, pity Brad couldn't get stuck in the battle. Mark Dodgen, quick side question. How's the family now that have arrived? Mark, thank you so much. It's amazing. Change, listen, being on your own for 6 months, as much as I miss my family, it's a complete adjustment, because now, the house isn't as clean as it always is. The electricity meter isn't as low as it always is. The water meter isn't as low as it always is. And you don't just have your time to watch MotoGP races many times as you want, but loving it, absolutely loving it. It's what I prayed every single night for, and my dream came true. It was a big move for us, a big adjustment, and now we kind of settling in and getting going as a family. So thank you so much, Mark, for asking that. Really appreciate it, and absolutely loving it. I feel so bad that I called you Dennis now, Denise. It's like killing me. I just want to rewind and start again. It's absolutely killing me. Shane Fulyun, Menno Havilah, glad to have you in my home, Rob. I love being in all of your homes. There was another question here. Rob, would Razlan be responsible for the delay in announcing to not lose money on merch? Mariska Hutchinson. So, Mariska, I know with KTM and that they normally delay those announcements, like the Miguel announcement, even though we knew it months in advance, kind of came a little bit later because there's still Miguel, Red Bull, KTM branded merch that they try and sell. And same with Jack Miller and Ducati and. So, merch does have a lot to do with it, but I wouldn't think so, because it's not Darren specific merch, if you know what I mean. It's team merch, and no, I don't think so. I honestly don't know why. I think they were waiting maybe for Marshall Schotter to announce his plans. Jeremy Alcoba, the rider in that intact team, which Darren's linked to, is and where's he going? Maybe there's just a couple of other pieces of the puzzle that need to fall into place before the announcement of where Darren's going can come out. It's a new team in many ways. I think it'll be good for Darren. Like I said, I haven't spoken to them. I haven't spoken to him pretty much since the Aragon round, since the last race I went to. So I don't know, on the inside what's actually happening there. No, I don't think it's delayed for any other reason than they're just waiting for other pieces of the puzzle to fall in. Maybe waiting to confirm sponsors, waiting to confirm other things. Like I said, it is in many ways a new team. So let's wait and see. Hello, Rob. We missed you this weekend. Sorry, Ruan Oosthuizen. I slacked, but I had a good reason. Shane Fulyun, what the heck did Alex Marquez do to Jack Miller? So that is one of my notes on my page. Alex Marquez, Jack Miller. I felt bad for Alex Marquez because it was a bad crash. Just, you watch it in slow motion and then you watch it back in real time. And I mean, he hit Jack Miller with such force, but it was a racing incident. It was not on purpose. I love the fact, and Alex Marquez he really is a nice guy. I've seen him a lot in the paddock. Every time hello, it's always a friendly greeting. When I've asked him to sign some stuff for me, it's always, a friendly greeting, and, not just, glasses down and don't say anything, there's your signature, piss off type thing. Very accommodating, and he really is a nice guy. Even in his press debriefs, always very accommodating, always on time, always very professional. So I felt bad for him because, it has been a tough season, and, he's got a big point to prove in 2023. There's no doubt, because he hasn't proven to me that he's cut it as a MotoGP rider entirely. I think, it hasn't worked out at the Honda. I think he's going to climb on the Gresini Ducati and do well. But if he doesn't, he's got big problems. Where does he go from there? Does he go to World Superbikes or whatever? But anyway, getting back to the incident, typical racing incident, went for a pass on the inside, I think, of Marini or Bezzecchi, got it locked up, released the rear kind of hooked, and just shot all that momentum and just flung him and the Honda into the back of Jack Miller at the newly named Jack Miller corner. I mean, how ironic. It's like, these are those little things where you think, no, someone is writing a script for MotoGP. It's like there's got to be someone sitting in a room somewhere, or a camera somewhere, where they're writing script. Jack Miller, at his home race, hasn't been to Phillip Island in 3 years. They named the corner after him, and then Alex Marquez goes and T-bones him. But racing incident. I love that Alex Marquez went straight up and went to see how Jack was. Jack initially frustrated, kind of pushed him away, but then I think realized, hats off to Jack as well, because he could have very easily, and with all due respect, he could have completely just told Alex to F off, and he would have been within his rights. But they both handled it really, really well. So it was good to see the way they handled it. Alex apologized. He went again and apologized. Jack kind of took the apology, and even though it must have been so hard and Jack must have been biting his teeth, but nothing but a racing incident. I don't think anything more. Alex has come out in his debrief afterwards and said, I deserve a penalty. It was horrible. I didn't do it intentionally, but certainly it's worth a penalty. It's a racing incident, but I'll take my penalty. Hands up, completely wrong. I apologize and everything. So good on you, Alex Marquez. I think he handled it perfectly, and I think the way Jack Miller handled it was also really good. Jacques Claessens, hello, best race of the year. Of course it was. Raymond Manson, I was impressed with Marc Marquez. We will talk about Marc Marquez. Stephen Goxie. Rins and Suzuki had such good edge grip throughout the race. What a track. So let's start with Phillip Island. Let's go on this topic of Phillip Island and what makes it the best track for me on the calendar. Just about every rider came out before the race weekend even started and said, it's my favorite track. It's my favorite track. It's fast flowing nature. It is fast flowing. Sven Grin also commented, Sven, you need to be a MotoGP pundit, my bad. You, Stephen Berry, and Travis Passon and everyone else. In fact, everyone, yeah. And fast flowing tracks always make for good racing. And I watched After the Flag, and Simon Crafar also hit the nail on the head. That's why it's just the best. And it's because, and I actually got a message today from a mate who said he can't join because of load shedding, but we must bring it up. What makes Phillip Island so good is that it's less about electronics and ride height devices and more about just, riders riding their motorbikes and taking the right line. And it's a bit more of the old school style, because they hardly use the rear squat device because of its fast flowing nature. You don't get to use it. That's really for 90-degree hairpins, Red Bull Ring, where you come out on the gas and you squat it down so it drives forward. It's not much of that at all at Phillip Island. When you got the downhill hairpin, you can't squat it there because you're immediately turning left. So if you squat it down, Harley Davidson, and you're riding the front in the air. So you can't squat it there. Coming out of, the Jack Miller hairpin as well, you can't squat it there because you're immediately going left into a fast corner. So the ride height device was very, very rarely used. And that invited the likes of the Suzukis and everyone else to come in. The fact it does have a long straight, but you come on there so fast that the Yamahas and the Hondas and that aren't as affected as Red Bull Ring, where it's a slow, the Ducatis just with the ride height device and everything just punch out of those corners so much more and are able to gather momentum and keep that horsepower going. It's just the nature of the track that brings everyone in. It really does bring everyone in. Remy Gardner was up in 10th place at one stage. It's just that track that invites for good racing. It's got passing places, but not, you've got to commit to make those passes. They're not just easy passing places, but they're there. It's got left, right, up, down, little bit of tight, more fast. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. I had the honor of riding there back in 2009 when I raced for Suzuki back in South Africa. I went on the world launch of the K9 Suzuki there. Lucky enough to have Sean Giles, the then Australian Superbike champion, and Kevin Schwantz as our instructors, and I got to learn the track behind Kevin Schwantz. It was absolutely amazing. A bucket list moment. It's definitely a lifelong memory and experience for sure. And it took me 2 sessions, and then I started getting going to the point where I actually passed Kevin Schwantz in that what used to be called the Honda hairpin, which is now the Miller corner. And had an awesome battle with Kevin Schwantz. He did pass me back, and I passed him back, and we had a really good time. I mean, look, Kevin Schwantz was well retired then, so it's not much saying I overtook a retired MotoGP rider, and I think he must have been late 40s, early 50s back then anyway. But the nature of the track was it was so beautiful. That turn one just sucks you in, and it's a tricky one because you can go in fast and it doesn't necessarily close in, but it doesn't open up. So you've got to get the right line because you've got to line yourself up for the next 2 left-handers, and then you come out of there into that stoner corner, and it's just beautiful. So I think the fact that electronics didn't, or these ride-out devices and didn't come into play as much as other tracks. And this is what gets me now. Like Kazakhstan, you have a blank piece of paper to build a racetrack, and then you go build a start-stop, which is going to kill MotoGP again. Phillip Island has proved time and time again why it is the greatest track on the calendar, because fast-flowing nature. Everyone loves fast-flowing. So please, next time you have a blank piece of paper, anyone, just think of Phillip Island. Even just do Phillip Island going the other way would be fantastic. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think that really sums Phillip Island up. It just always produces great racing because it's more about man than machine, if that makes sense. I mean, obviously, the Ducati still came to the forefront because they've just proven the ultimate package in terms of horsepower, handling, braking. It used to have issues with mid-corner speed, and the Ducati is the ultimate package now. But it just proved with Alex Rins to come from 10th on the grid in a modern-day MotoGP race, and he wasn't handed any of those positions. It's not like a guy crashed and then he went from 10th to 9th. He overtook every single rider to get to that victory, including Pecco Bagnaia on a Ducati and Marc Marquez on the brakes into Miller corner. Not anyone just outbrakes Marc Marquez. And Alex Rins was able to do it because the track invited the Suzuki to be better. It invited Rins to be better. It invited everyone just to be better. So yeah, Phillip Island, just absolutely love you. Absolutely love you. Nolan Barnser, Phillip Island just sorted out the championship, I think. Fabio cracked under the pressure. Marquez showed that he is back for the year. Bez showed us he is a contender. Pecco managed it as a champion. Alicia's fall off. Jack suffered a terrible crash. So Nolan, I can't agree with you more. I'm just going to tick off a couple of things here. So I'm going to jump to the Fabio incident. Now, I got a little bit of flack because on the Motor Rider World page, I put, Fabio's comments from the race weekend, and I put they buckled under the pressure. Now, let me explain what I mean when I say buckled under the pressure, because he did. I know people say, it's a bit unfair to say buckled under the pressure because he's has to ride above and beyond to stay with the Ducatis. Yes, he buckled under the pressure of having to ride 110% every single lap of every single race. That is buckling under the pressure because Yamaha have let him down. Yamaha have let Fabio Quartararo, Franco Morbidelli, Darren Binder, Andrea Dovizioso, and Carl Crutchlow. They have let them down. End of story. might get shunned for that, or might get hate mail and more, dog poo lit on fire outside my front door. But it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And Fabio, every Talking MotoGP show, we were going, the guy's amazing. He's phenomenal. The things he's done is superb. And hats off to him. Fabio has kept himself in the championship with die-hard determination, spirit, hunger, passion, and skill. Not Yamaha, Fabio. But you cannot maintain that level every single race at the current MotoGP. It is impossible. It is impossible with all those Ducatis, with Brad and Miguel on the KTMs getting better and showing some signs of improvement, with the Hondas getting better in the hands of Marc Marquez. Bezzecchi, as Nolan said, a rookie on an old spec Ducati, able to finish on the podium and qualify in pole position, and be there. And well done to Bezzecchi for wrapping up the rookies title. But Fabio cracked under the pressure because he had to ride so hard, made that mistake on the brakes going into the middle corner, which, again, it's just one of those racing things. It wasn't his fault. It's just one of those things that happen. Sometimes your brake got it crossed up, shot him. Luckily, I mean, how he didn't take another rider out, I don't know, because it was almost the exact same incident as Alex Marquez. So, and then he came back on track, in 20th or whatever it is, and he had to push to fight through, because he's literally watching this championship slip through his fingers. Yamaha let him down in Thailand with the tire pressure. They let Darren down. They let Fabio down. They let everyone down in Thailand again with tire pressure. They got it wrong. They came out and admitted that. They let Fabio down there. It's, so Fabio and Yamaha have cracked under the pressure. But Fabio, when I say cracked under the pressure, it's cracking under the pressure of having to be at 110% every single corner, every single lap. The human body cannot do it. Pecco Bagnaia had 5 DNFs this year at the start of the year. We all counted him out of the championship when he was 91 points behind. Said, that's it. Finished and clear. He's lucky in the fact that Yamaha have let Fabio down, because that's put him at the top of the championship. Take nothing away from Pecco. He did sublimely to come through again. But you cannot. In modern day MotoGP, a rider, Fabio Quartararo, cannot win the championship by himself. It's, last year he did a phenomenal job and he was the best rider. He was the best rider because he won the championship, but was he the best rider overall? Some might argue it was Pecco, because, he was the Foster rider, or all in all, if you look at it like that. So I think the championship is over. It's not over. Listen, it's not over. I think it's out of Fabio's hands. I think it's up to the likes of Ducati and Pecco to now suffer bad luck or make mistakes for Fabio to win. Fabio, even if Fabio wins the next 2 races and Pecco finishes second or third, and as much as I love Fabio and I'm a fan of Fabio, he's not going to win the next 2 races. Sepang is going to be another Ducati fest, I believe. I think the Aprilias are going to go well there, and Valencia is going to be. He's got to, before he even does anything, he's got to beat 8 Ducatis. Okay, DJ Antonio is kind of put himself out of the picture. He's got to beat 7 Ducatis before you even throw in Marc Marquez, Brad Binder, Miguel Oliveira, Aleix Espargaro, Maverick Vinales. Before you even throw those names in the hat, he's got to beat 7 Ducatis. And Luca Marini's proved that he is a front runner. Marco Bezzecchi has proved that he's a front runner. So up till now, before kind of before Sachsenring, which is where the last time Fabio had a real decent result, Fabio had to solely rely on beating the Peccos of the world, and that was his main focus. He can't do that now. You got Alex Rins on the Suzuki coming. He's got all these other riders now. So yeah, I do think Fabio cracked. It was literally this just boiling. It was building, and eventually it had to crack. And unfortunately, it cracked at the worst time for Fabio and Yamaha with 2 rounds to go. It's out of Fabio's hands now. It's all about if Ducati and Pecco have bad luck or make any mistakes now. Marc Marquez, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. If you want to watch a real tearjerker again, watch Dog's going crazy. If you want to watch a little tearjerker, watch the Marc Marquez interview that's on the MotoGP website, where he talks about the injury and coming back. But the problem for the rest of the MotoGP grid now is that Marc is smiling and Marc looks happy. We know when Marc came back the second time from the injury at the start of the year, he was back and he was happy to be back, but he wasn't confident, and he knew something was still wrong. And I said it. Seeing him in the paddock until he made that decision in Mugello, he looked exhausted, he looked unhappy, he looked depressed. Doesn't look like that anymore, does Marc Marquez? He looks in shape to wrestle a MotoGP bike around the track for 24 laps, finish second, and still have the energy. As soon as he was throwing his boots into the crowd with his right arm, I thought, geez, Marc, do you really want to be doing that? And he had the confidence to do it and the feeling to do it. So the Honda's getting better. It seems like that Calyx swing arm is working, an absolute treat for Marc, because the other Honda riders are still battling and they don't have that, So yeah, Marc Marquez is back and he's smiling, and he said the team vibe feels great. The direction they're going in is phenomenal. And a couple of races back, and he was challenging somewhat in Thailand. Aragon was a complete disaster. We know that. And then to come to Phillip Island, a track he loves. Don't get me wrong, it's a track he loves. So, but still, if you think how much time he's had off, and to be there and beat Pecco Bagnaia on a Ducati, and yeah, I'm happy to see Marc back. I'm happy to see Marc back and smiling. I think he brings huge value to the championship, and yeah, it's entertaining. And talking about depression and that, watch Fabio Quartararo's interview after the race, his debrief after the race. And I would love to know what you think. If you have watched it, let me know what you think. But I see a defeated young man. I see a young man. He looked like he wanted to cry in that interview. It looked like the tears were right here, because he's just given everything he has. There's no more Fabio Quartararo can give, and it's not getting him anywhere anymore. And that is why I say Yamaha need to take full blame. If Fabio Quartararo doesn't win this championship, Yamaha need to take full responsibility for that. And yeah, it was hard. It was hard watching that interview for Fabio Quartararo, because he really has given his absolute all, and he doesn't deserve what's happening to him, especially after everything he's given in this championship. But the sad reality is that's where they are. Going back to Pecco, I was really impressed with Pecco. I had him down as the man to beat, and he looked really good going into that final lap. Pecco's biggest problem was that he was fighting with two riders that had nothing to lose. Marc Marquez has nothing to lose. Alex Rins has nothing to lose. So while Pecco's thinking championship and don't make mistakes, crash, Alex is thinking, I'm going for the win. Marc's thinking, I'm going for the win. I see a gap, I'm taking it. So I think Pecco handled and managed it well. He knew Fabio was out of the race. He knew that on the podium he'd take a 14-point lead. He knows that Sepang's going to be good for them. He knows Valencia is going to be potentially good for them. And he knows that he could have thrown it all away had he done something stupid with two riders that have nothing to lose. They're not thinking championship. They're not thinking nothing. They're thinking destroy. And Pecco had to think, maintain, consolidate. So hats off to Pecco. I loved afterwards that he got off smiling, happy. I love the fact before he's saying, I don't want team orders. I love the fact that Jack Miller shoved it on the inside of him at that one hairpin, and Pecco fought back, and there was no hand gestures or anything. Yeah, I love how Pecco's going about this, and massive respect to him. 91 points behind at one stage, 5 DNFs. If he pulls this off, he'll be the first rider in history to win a MotoGP championship having not finished 5 races. Could be more. There's still 2 rounds left. And the biggest margin that any champion has come back from is a 49-point deficit. So if Pecco wins this, 91 points back, 5 DNFs. The scary thing is heading into 2023, is that imagine if Pecco doesn't have those 5 DNFs. I mean, the man would have won the championship after 4 rounds type thing. And that's where you've got to look at it with Fabio and Yamaha. Yes, he's done a great job. But in many ways, take the icing off the cupcake, and it reveals, the true potential of where Yamaha actually are. Fabio hasn't had a front row start since God knows when. I think it was Assen. It was his last front row start. His last win, God knows when. His last podium, I think, was Sachsenring or something. I think he won at Sachsenring, actually. So I think that was his last win at Sachsenring, where Pecco made the mistake, and we thought, wow, that's it. Pecco's crashed again. Fabio wins. That's it. It's all over. And look where we are now. So yeah, that's it. Aleix Espargaro, no disrespect to Aleix, but you kind of knew that towards the back end, he was just not going to be able to sustain that. He's been lucky in many ways because, Fabio's tripped up, Pecco's tripped up once or twice, Pecco in Motegi, and Aleix, just hasn't been able to take advantage of that. But he's kept himself in the hunt by finishing and making the best out of what's happened, keeping himself there. And it was a tough weekend again for him. He looked good at the beginning. I said they got the traction control settings all wrong, so he just wasn't driving out of the corners. But yeah, I do think it's between Pecco and Fabio. Although, having said that, like I said, Sepang, I think it's going to be a good circuit for the Aprilia, and I think Valencia will. There's no doubting why Aleix Espargaro and Aprilia can't finish second in the World Championship. That'll be a phenomenal result. Listen, third in the World Championship, which it looks like it can be and will be, is a phenomenal result for Aprilia and Aleix Espargaro. Said that to me at the beginning of the year, I would have slapped you. I would have absolutely slapped you. So yeah, but it's very much between Pecco and Fabio, I think. Andrew Kate, really think Darren is going to be one of the most watched riders next year. Jumping to MotoGP and now jumping to Moto2 is going to be something different to see and experience. Teams are going to watch tight. So, Andrew, I agree with you. I think Darren Binder is going to be phenomenal on a Moto2 bike. I think he's going to have to make a huge adjustment coming from MotoGP, all that horsepower, all that tech, right out device, press this button, then do this, hold on for dear life, this. It's a lot to take in. There's a classic saying in life. You've got to sometimes take one step back to go two steps forward. And this is that one step back that he's going to take to a simpler way of riding a motorcycle. There's a brake and a throttle with that Moto2. Look, you've got to learn the Dunlop tires compared to the Michelins. You've got to learn no more traction control and wheelie control and stuff on the Moto2. But I think that plays into Darren's favor. I think Darren prefers that kind of ride. I think Darren likes the fact it's give me the bike and let it do what I want it to do. MotoGP bikes, that's the biggest thing he's had to learn is how to ride a MotoGP bike the way it wants to be ridden. Where I think a Moto2 is a little bit more, okay, well, it's back to kind of the motorbikes that we all get to ride, as opposed to a MotoGP bike, and it's more again just throttle and brake. He's had experience on Dunlop tires in Moto3 before, but that's the Moto2 tires, from what I can hear, are a lot different. So the MotoGP tires, you got to get them to the right temperature. The braking is a lot different as well. The Moto2 tires, the Dunlops are here, up in a straight line. They brake really well, and then it just like falls into the corner, where the Michelins are a bit more, it's got a bit more of a better feeling. So there's a lot of factors he's got to learn. But I have seen Darren ride a 600 from the age of 12 or 13, and he's managed those kind of bikes. And I think he's going to be great on a Moto2 bike. I really do think he's going to be great. As you said, Andrew, I think he's going to be exciting. I think a lot of teams already are watching him. I think they're watching him with a keen interest to see how he goes, and that potentially for a move back to MotoGP, if not in 2024, 2025, certainly. I would like to see Darren, go out next year. If he can't win the title next year, win it in 2020. Where are we? 2024, and then going to MotoGP 2025 as Moto2 champion on an Aprilia, a Ducati, or a much better Yamaha, or whatever, on a really good package, a really good team, and show the true potential of Darren Binder. I do. I think he's going to bring some great excitement. I can't wait to see him bashing handlebars with the Pedro Acostas, the Aaron Canets, and all those. So I cannot wait. Let's have a look. Can't wait to see Daz in Moto2. Blah, blah, blah. Hi from Slopstad, Mark van der Berg. Hey, you from Cape Town, my buddy. Andy Rowe. Hello from Florida. Andy, thank you so much for tuning in again. Daz rode so well and great to see him where he should be. A few EU publications in EU have shared he is the new Liqui Moly Intact team as Cavana team, Daryl Potgieter. Yeah, we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. Paul Pacheco, howdy, Rob. KTM seemed fast. Even Oliveira, with all the penalties, got a good result. So, Paul, that's kind of the topic I wanted to get on in terms of KTM. Early on, there was the comment about KTM letting us down. Just as soon as we think they're getting somewhere, they go backwards again. And I don't think that was the full picture from Phillip Island. Listen, they battled. They were technical gremlins, and they battled with certain things on the Friday and the Saturday. They battled, and it didn't look good. I was expecting a lot more. Brad, I'm sure, was expecting a lot more. Miguel certainly was, but it was more a case of they just couldn't go as fast one lap as the other guys. Their general race pace in that was actually quite good. And Brad still said in his debrief after Saturday, he said, we've had a tough weekend. We have to accept that. But it's not as bad as it looks. Our one lap pace isn't as good as the others. We just can't get it, stopped. We can't get the bike stopped, especially going down the hill on the brakes. But our general race pace is quite good. And Brad proved it. Started from 16th, got himself right in the mix there, was up into 7th. I still thought this is Brad's going to really be in there. The problem Brad and KTM was coming from 16th on the grid and battling through and having to close that gap was you had to use a lot of tire to do that. And that is ultimately what was the biggest downfall to Brad and the KTM for challenging for the podium, I believe, is that they just ran out of tire. They had to use too much tire early on. Johan Zarco said the same. He got a terrible start and fighting through. He just had to use too much tire to get there. And that's what happened to Brad. So I don't think it's as bad as it looked. As Paul Pacheco said there, Oliveira, I think, did a fantastic job to come into 12th place, starting at the back of the grid, long lap penalty. Although, in fairness, that long lap penalty is hardly a penalty. Jeez, did you in the Moto2 with Lopez? Yeah, Alonso Lopez taking that long lap penalty. I think he lost 0.6 of a second. It's hardly a penalty compared to some of the other races where it's like a 2.5 second penalty going through the long lap. So I think they need to relook that long lap. Although having said that, as I said earlier, I had a message from a fan and a mate talking about why Phillip Island's good. We spoke about the ride height devices and that, but it's also that the fact that there's none of this extra runoff, and he made such a good point. There's none of this extra runoff. It's curb and grass. So the riders, can't. They've got to be more. The thought process has got to be more. Well, if we get it wrong, like turn 1 at Phillip Island, if you get it wrong, you're going into a field. You don't have that runoff to play with in it. So you've got to be more precise, and that also plays. I think I do. Casey Stoner said it. The biggest problem these tracks made for themselves was adding all this runoff for the riders to use. There was none of this green, going into the green paint shit that you get with other race meetings. There's no green paint. There's green grass. If you go off the track, you're on grass and you're down. So the riders have to be more careful. And I think that brings everyone a bit closer, because along with the ride out devices and everything, the thought process has changed, and the Pecos and everyone else maybe think, okay, well, you can't take as much risk because there's no runoff, and there's all these different factors that just makes Phillip Island the greatest race. It's the old school, but new school. Old school is the new school. And that's what Phillip Island is. They haven't made any dramatic changes to that racetrack, and it just works every single year. So absolutely love it. Getting back to Miguel Oliveira, yeah, I was very impressed. Like you said, Paul, up into 12th. I was just hoping Darren was going to beat him, but Miguel did well, and it did. I don't think it was as bad as we thought it was for KTM. Sepang, I think Sepang can be good, depending on the weather again. Listen, you don't know what's going to happen with the weather these days. We've had sunshine here in the UK, and then it rains, and then it's sunshine, then it's... George Haji was here on the weekend with me, and he said it's raining in Cyprus. It's the weather. It's just all over the wall. It's just going crazy. Daryl Earcott, good evening, Rob from Emerald Isle. How you doing, my bud? Hope you're well. What the heck happened to Alex Marquez? He destroyed my MotoGP fantasy. Andy Rowe, I've spoken about Alex Marquez, and yeah, it was just an unfortunate racing incident. So yeah, it's was sad, but that is racing at the end of the day. Luckily, no rider was hurt, and it was good respect shown by both riders. Craig Dickinson, closest Daz has finished to the winner this year. Do you think that was due to the tyre conservation, or did Daz find something this weekend? Enjoyed the track. It's the most competitive the With You team have looked all year in the dry. So, Craig, I do think it is. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's the fact that the leading riders and everyone had to kind of conserve their tires a little bit. But I more so, I think it was just Darren loves the track. I think it suits his riding style. Get off the brake, carry the corner speed, commit, big balls, get on the gas. That's Darren's kind of riding style. Darren has suffered this year with these hard, long braking zones where you've got to brake hard and be on the brake for long. He's suffered with stability on that Yamaha. He suffered with front end feel. All of his crashes have come, with the front just letting go. So he doesn't have full confidence, I think, in the front end of that Yamaha. It's every single race I went to this year with Darren, his biggest complaint was, and where Fabio is better than all the Yamaha riders, is under that hard initial braking. Fabio seems to just be able to apply the right amount of pressure, not too hard, not too soft initially, and then just gam on the brake and just, keep it upright on the brake, scrub the speed off, and then get into the corners where, Darren certainly can't do that. He's got to jam the brakes, and he just can't get the bike stopped, holding the brake for long, and then he can't get the bike turned. So I think it was more a case of that Phillip Island is just a track Darren loves and suits his riding style more, to be honest. But I do think the fact that the leading riders had to conserve maybe a little bit, maybe, counted for a couple of tenths, but overall I would say it was just Darren riding the wheels off that Yamaha. I think. Denise Gowler, don't stress, Rob. I still love you. Thank you so much, Denise. Oh, I still feel terrible. Mariska, oh my God, I was livid being a Jack fan. So I'm like catching up now on questions. Daryl, we've spoken about Darren in Moto2, talking MotoGP with the whole Portman family. Congratulations. Yeah, beautiful families downstairs eating their supper. Maybe they'll make a surprise appearance up here just now. We'll see if we'll get the babies up here to say good night when we do leave the show. And he's doing well. Yeah, Augusto Fernandez is really tall and he's doing well. Obviously, in-house conversation. What about Fabio Quartararo crashing out? Andy, we've spoken about Quartararo, and just go watch that interview of his on MotoGP.com after the Phillip Island race. He just looks. I just wanted to cuddle him. I just wanted to give him the biggest hug ever. KTM need to get some newly unemployed Suzuki staff pronto. Joe Alves. No, KTM have got the right staff. They're going in the right direction. KTM are going in the right direction. I do still think it's going to be a massive year for KTM next year. They've got to make a huge improvement next year, ready to challenge for 2024 title. I don't think they're going to make. I think they're going to make a massive step. I don't think a big enough step to be, I don't know. They could get it right next year, but certainly they do need to make a step closer to put themselves closer in championship contention and more consistent, because they've got the rider. They've got the riders. They had them this year with Brad and Miguel, but next year with Jack and Brad, they've got the perfect team, and it's time to shine. Colin Kane, what is wrong with track designers nowadays? I completely agree. I don't know. Phillip Island gives you the blueprints to a successful track, gives it to you, and they still get it wrong. Yeah, they build tracks for Formula One, unfortunately. Svengren, absolutely. Mark Dodgen, Rob, the next track has it all, I think. I think Sepang, I think you're right, Mark. I think that's also had some really good races over the year. I think it's going to be entertaining. I do think it's going to be entertaining. Sepang, absolutely love Sepang. So yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I do agree with you. Sepang is another one of the really good ones on the calendar. Roll on Sepang suits Brad perfect. Dion Smith, I agree. I agree. I think that Brad and the KTM will work there. Alicia's problem was apparently on electronic gremlins on the Aprilia Jacques Mats. Yeah, he spoke about traction control or something not working. Rob Herpen. Rob, I know it's not MotoGP, but what do you think of the new Ducati Superbike? I think they are going to shit next year. Rob, they're getting it right. I mean, whatever Ducati are doing at the moment, they're getting it right. They're going to potentially win MotoGP, Constructors, Team Title Championship, Rider Championship, World Superbikes, Constructors, Team Championship, Rider Championship. So yeah, they're getting it right. And I know there's a lot of flack with Ducati, and they have 8 bikes and it's not van. They're putting in the time and the money. They're putting the resources back into the sport. So you can't be too hard on them. You cannot be. Mark Dodgen had to catch up with Fabio sooner or later. It just had to. It just had to. As hard as it is for me to say it, because I'm a huge Fabio fan, it had to. I kept saying it week in, week out, and I felt bad for saying it, but it just had to. The poor kid could just not carry them any longer. Brink Heinemann, 7 different winners again this year, shows that the competition is fierce. Brink, I agree with you. This is the best MotoGP has ever been in terms of rider depth, rider talent. It really is. It's absolutely phenomenal. Craig Dickinson, Ducati set a precedence, build the best bike, put 8 of them on the grid, and get 2 former world champions in Valle and Stoner behind your favorite. Nothing against Pecco's talent, but even a fully fit Marquez would have struggled on this year's Honda against 8 Ducatis. Again, yeah, you're 100% right, Craig. Ducati had a plan and said, we're just going to bombard. And you think how much development Ducati get from their 8 riders. You got 8 different riders with potentially different riding styles. Pecco's a little bit more precise. Marco Bezzecchi's a little bit more wild and actiony. Marini is very precise. Miller is certainly, a little bit different. And they take all that data and they build this perfect bike. It's like taking the Avengers and taking each of their superpowers and just making the ultimate Avenger. That's what Ducati have done. And you can't give them too much crap for it. I do think Dorna were wrong. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think, it works. There's been times this year where we have said, the racing's not working, there's no passing. But then you look at a race like this and you go, it is working. Whatever Dorna's doing is working. It is working. Yes, there's these boxes they still need to tick in terms of paddock and fan access but the racing is phenomenal. The on-track racing at the Phillip Islands, and it is phenomenal. There has been boring races. There's no hiding it, but it's still phenomenal. I just cannot. I just love MotoGP so much. I watch the reruns 100 times. I watch the highlights 100 times. I just can't get enough of it. I really cannot. Interesting point on Twitter today. If Pecco out in Malaysia, Alex wins and Fabio 4th, points would be 233, 232, and 231 going into Valencia. Please, his good would be. Please, his good would that be? Please, how good would that be? I'm sure you were trying to say. So, yeah. How cock was Mark's chirp towards Rins? So, Ray, I'm glad you brought that up. So, Mark is a very clever. He's a shrewd character, Mark Marquez. He's playing mind games. Mark Marquez is very good at playing mind games, and that's what he's doing with Rins. Well done, Rins, but so Mark, and that's what makes me think Mark is back and Mark is ready to challenge for next year. As soon as he starts playing those mind games, it's a confident Mark. Mark, when he plays his mind games, is a confident Mark. So look, take nothing away from Alex Rins. He was sensational. To come from 10th on the grid and make those passes he did, that Suzuki looked so good. It is such a pity that we are not going to have Suzuki on the grid. It really, really is. It's sad. It's just so sad that there won't be that blue, silver, and white Suzuki out on track anymore. Hey man, it's terrible. But I'm glad they got a win. If it's their last one, they could go do something at Sepang and Valencia, obviously. But I'm glad they did have that little bit of success towards the end, because they have put a lot of resources and time into it. It's management problems at Suzuki that have caused this, unfortunately, and it's a pity. But I was at British Superbikes on the weekend, and BMW have got so much invested in that championship. BMW have got so much invested in all championships. They've got, the South African World of Carbon, the World of Carbon BMW team in South Africa with Nicole van Asweken, Sean Portman, my brother, Moma Hoppe, AJ Fenter will be on the team next year. BSB, they had Peter Hickman, Danny Buckham, Andrew Irwin. They had all these BMW riders up there in championships all over the world they've got. And I looked at it, and George Hadji actually said, why aren't BMW in MotoGP? And I've always kind of said, I don't think they'll go. Then, they're not interested. They're, production. And then I looked at it and went, maybe, just maybe, BMW could look at that Suzuki exit, go, right, they've pushed a BMW project before. They've built a prototype MotoGP bike before. Maybe they're dusting off those blueprints and coming back. Maybe Dorna have said to them, listen, here's your chance, 2024, potentially, come with a motorbike. So let's see. I'm really hoping, I'm really hoping BMW come in, because I think it'll just be huge added value. I think it'll be great. Mark Dodge and Fabio look like he has no answers, like a kid going into an examination, not knowing a thing. Top rider with hopeless direction. 100% correct. 100% correct, Mark. He looked like me when I went into any test or exam back at school. I just keep getting that picture in my head of him being interviewed after Phillip Island, and I really do just want to climb on a plane and go give old Fabio a big hug. Christopher Van Wyk, how's it, Uncle Rob from Leafy, Surrey? Good man, just up the road from me. Nice, good stuff, Christopher. Hope you're doing well. Rob Hepburn. Rob, do you think that Yamaha have got a better bike for next year, as they keep saying they have something? Rob, I'm still very skeptical. Yamaha, I think, are focusing on the fact that they just need more horsepower. I don't think it's just more horsepower they need. Finding 2 k's an hour top speed at the test, and they were like, Fabio was like, yeah, it felt great. We had, I went 2 k's an hour faster top speed. You need more than that. I think it's stability. I think Phillip Island proved where their package actually is. Actually is. I think they need more horsepower. I think they need more stability. I think they need more front end feel. Fabio, the problem with Fabio going so well and riding so hard is that it led them into a false sense of hope that their bike is not so bad. And there's Franco Morbidelli and Darren and others, and Andrea Dovizioso and Rossi, to a point, saying you are getting it wrong. You are getting it terribly wrong. Franco saying the last Yamaha I could ride properly was 2019. Franco is just forgotten. Franco just, I don't even know why he's there, Franco Morbidelli. I don't know why the man's there. He's Yamaha. It's so much more than just horsepower. They need a whole new machine for next year. A whole new machine. Ooh, I don't want to be anyone working at Yamaha. I don't want to. And Fabio signed that contract extension. It's a big question mark. It is a big question. Mariska Hudson, I think they only said that to get Fabio to sign with him again, Yamaha is lost, and I think Fabio made a big mistake renewing his contract. Look, loyalty, I don't think is ever a big mistake. It's the same with Brad with KTM. It's not a big mistake being loyal in that and committing to a project the way Brad has, the way Fabio has. Yes, Brad could have probably been on a Ducati this year or on a Aprilia and won the championship. I have no doubt. Fabio could have already wrapped the championship if he was on a Ducati or whatever. But they believe in their projects, which is kudos to them. When many others wouldn't, they're sticking by it, and you've got to give them credit for that. Just hope they get it right, because they deserve to get it right. Martin Blucknote in Cameroon, love these updates and insights. Thanks, Rob. Thank you so much, Martin. Really appreciate that. Some guys and girls coming late to the party. Ish, I guess Stephen is having load shedding. Yeah, Stephen Berry, where are you to correct everything I have to say? Come now. I don't like just saying something without being corrected. It's just feels weird. Feels weird. Um, can they not just have a tire that lasts longer? Gordon De Beer. Yes, Gordon, I feel for Michelin. I feel for Michelin on a number of levels because damned if you do, damned if you don't. They're never going to get it right. You've got these riders that are just pushing the envelope every single lap, and it'll never, ever be good enough. Michelin will never, ever have a good enough tire. They finally beat the Bridgestone Jorge Lorenzo lap record from 1902 or whatever it was on the Bridgestone tires in MotoGP. Jorge Martin got that now. I think it's impossible to build a tire that grips and lasts for 24 laps. It's impossible on a what 270 horsepower, whatever plus MotoGP bike with the riders doing what they're doing. I think it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. So I do. I think Michelin are getting it wrong in some ways. There's no doubt about that. The whole tire pressure story and. But they are getting it right at the same time. You know, you don't see riders. The front tire is a problem. I think the front tire is something that they do need to work on. There needs to be a better feel or a better carcass or something better with the front. But yeah, I don't. To say Michelin need to bring out a tire that lasts longer so that riders can just. It's impossible, and that's the entertaining side of the sprint race next year. I know there's these ups and downs about sprint races, but for me, the entertaining side is there's none of that. There's no tire management involved. There's nothing. Riders can just put the soft on and go as fast as they want. And that's going to make it entertaining. That's going to bring, I think, a couple of other parties back into the mix. And yeah, it's going to work in some ways. It's not going to work in other ways. The sprint race. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I do feel sorry for the riders and the teams and the sponsors because it's a lot more pressure on them to entertain us. It's more racing at the end of the day. Why wouldn't I? I wouldn't. No, give me more racing. I'm a MotoGP nutter. I want to sit and watch MotoGP 24/7. Give it, bring it. But yeah, it's a lot more pressure on the riders and teams. So it's going to be interesting to see. Although having said that, how Marc Marquez made that soft rear tire last, but he's been able to do it for years. Marc Marquez, he puts everything on the front that he just gives he's able to make the rear work because everything is on the front. Mark, how was his hairpin front end tuck again? Like identical to 2019, and he still waves to the fans afterwards. Yeah, Marc Marquez is a showman. It's great having him back. Absolutely love having him back. Richard Hawkins, Enea Bastianini, great topic. Sebastianini early on I think he fell down to like 18th or something, and I was like, what the hell is going on with Bastianini? This is terrible. And then we had seen that Pecco had made the mistake with his ride-out device at the start, and I thought, okay, maybe it was that. And then he kind of slowly made progress, wasn't really going anywhere. Then all of a sudden, just was up there, and he came through the field like a hot knife through butter. And he actually put on a phenomenal ride, didn't he? He was the last 5 laps. The guy was just phenomenal. He was sensational. And to finish in 5th place when at one stage you were 18th after 10 laps or with 10 laps to go or whatever it was something stupid like that. To come and finish 5th was brilliant. But the story is, and it's come out since, is that his airbag in his suit went off. Obviously got the fright of his life, probably thought something was happening, and that's why he had this terrible start to the race. But then to recover from that and do what he did, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the beast. He pushed like a bastard. Big fan of him. Excited to see how that relationship works next year. And Enea Bastianini, Pecco Bagnaia, factory Ducatis. Davide Todozzi, Paolo Gibatti. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be very, very, very entertaining how they manage those riders and how they manage a Jorge Martin in the Pramac team after being snubbed. Because I love all the other Ducati riders. Yeah, of course we will help Pecco. If we need to, we'll help Pecco. Martin, no. If I was in Zarco's situation, I would have gone for it. You're going to have to manage that, Oak. They're going to have to manage him because you snubbed him in many ways. He was told, if you watch the documentary on the MotoGP channel, there's part 1 and part 2 of the Ducati decision. Martin was told by Ducati management that he had the ride. He was told, "You've got the ride," and then all of a sudden, oh, just wait. There's a Bastianini that needs to we need to think of. So yeah, very interesting. Craig, John, Dalby, sorry, Rob, John, late speaking about Fabio. Do you think Fabio has a chance there or championship done at Sepang? Craig, as I said, I think it's up to. I think Fabio needs to rely on Pecco and Ducati making mistakes for them to have any chance of the championship. I think it's out of his hands. I really do think it's out of his hands in many ways. Yeah, I don't think there's any more the kid can do, to be honest. And it's hard to say that, and I'm sure it's hard for him to accept that. But that's how it is. Stan Roberts would like to hear opinions on the exhaust on the MotoGP motors. Stan, I know you've asked this question a lot. I know Tex answered it last time for us. So the different exhaust that the teams run, longer pipe means more top end speed, shorter pipe means a little bit more acceleration, less engine braking, less resistance. It's all kind of different factors. The like grid thing that they run at the tailpipe of the exhaust is I'm just speculating, to be honest, but it's obviously for a little bit of looks. I think it looks better. And then if anything comes flying out of the exhaust, it doesn't just come flying out. It's got like that little filter in a way to protect it. But yeah, in terms of exhaust, I think it's more just it helps a little bit with characteristics of the bike in terms of power delivery, top speed, and stuff. That's why the different teams run the different pipes. And those little grills on the back are, for me, I think, more design and, as I said, to act like a filter. I could be wrong. Let us know what all you think. I know Stan has asked this question many times, and that'll be a really good question to ask Simon Crayford come the end of the year. I think he'll have a little bit more insight there. So let's see. Brian Hepburn, disappointing to watch Franco. It is. It's hard to watch Franco Morbidelli. Even his press debriefs, he's like he doesn't have answers. He doesn't look like he wants to be there, and he doesn't have answers to me. It is sad because, and the guy's saying, just give me my 2019 bike back and I'll be faster. And it's sad. It's sad. Rins was on the burn in Australia. Rins, yeah, it was fantastic to see Rins. And Simon Crayford pointed it out in after the flag as well. The Ducati's lineup, Honda's lineup for next year. They've got Alex Rins, who's proven what a top quality rider is. Marc Marquez coming back, looking good. Joan Mir, and then Taka Nakagami. So those three Spaniards, if Honda can sort their bike out, that's a really, really good setup. It really is. But Honda have got to give them the bike. And it looks like they're getting somewhere. Who would have thought? Just a swing arm. BMW World Superbikes was the same. It's not a little thing. It's a big component, but something, it's a swing arm. A Kalex swing arm is Marc Marquez and Honda's solution. Crazy. A lot of people talking about excitement into with BMW. Why no Kawasaki? Stan Roberts, Kawasaki just don't have the resources and the money to go to MotoGP. Simple. Same reason why Suzuki are pulling out. Just don't have the money. Don't have the same kind of budgets. And I know that sounds weird saying, because Ducati in essence is a much smaller company compared to the mighty Suzuki, Japanese power Suzukis and Kawasaki's and that, but it's not that case anymore. Ducati and the Triumphs and the KTMs, those are the brands doing things. Those are the brands bringing out the model range, adventure bike, enduro bikes, super bikes, naked sports bikes, entry-level street bikes. They've got the full range, whereas Kawasaki, I hate to say it, don't do anything. If I look at their range, in South Africa, Kawasaki don't have a competitive adventure bike. They don't have an adventure bike in South Africa. You need an adventure bike. There's ZX10 that's proven now in the hands of Johnny Ray that Johnny Ray's got the same problem as Fabio. He's overriding a motorbike that's just not capable of beating the others. Simple as that. They've changed the fairing and one or two other things and created a new superbike that they can't give away. I think their marketing strategies are all wrong. Their model ranges are all wrong. If I look at KTM South Africa are doing a brilliant job. Kawasaki South Africa, advertising wise, I think is not very good. They don't advertise with Motor Rider World. That's why you don't see Kawasaki with us. They don't do any form of advertising really. So it's sad in a way because it's a brand that I raced and I did a lot of things for. But they just don't have the resources. End of story. They just don't have the resources, and they don't have the powers that be making the right decisions. In my mind, I'll probably never get advertising again from Kawasaki South Africa because of that comment, but I don't now. So, not losing anything. They need fresh blood. Kawasaki in general, to me, needs new fresh blood to come in and take over and redo their model range and. Stuff Junkie, I'm late. Have you touched on what's happening with Daz? Yes, we have. We're just waiting for confirmation. We are literally just waiting for confirmation on the team Darren will be in next year. So I'm just catching up with all the Mark Dodge and the Beast may do better than Pecco next year. Make a note in your diary to chat about it in the new year time. Yeah, Mark, we're going to have a good chat to like Simon Crayfar about it's going to be a big talking point next year. It's going to be a massive, massive talking point that Pecco, Anaya, and Ducati, how that all works out. It really is. Brian Ritchie, Rob, what is your take on my Facebook post? Brian, I did see it earlier. I can't remember what it was about. Just remind me. It was about Marquez, and it was Fabio Quartararo, and Brian made an interesting point that Fabio seems to battle when Mark's back out on track. Fabio pretty much he was last year's champion and rightfully so, but he does seem to battle when there's a Marc Marquez run. Seems like Marc Marquez gets under his skin. I can understand your point, Brian. And the facts are there, certainly, because Mark's been back, from Aragon, obviously, we all know what happened there, the racing incident. Motegi, Mark was back and Fabio didn't perform. Thailand, Mark was back and Fabio didn't perform. And Phillip Island, Mark was back and Fabio didn't perform. So I can understand your argument in saying that because it is in many ways, but I think it's more than that. I think it's the bigger picture, which is Yamaha have let their riders down this year, and Fabio just carried them for so long and kind of, disguised the real big problems there that were lying beneath, and that is that Yamaha are nowhere. Yamaha aren't where they should be. It literally was just Fabio Quartararo. Again, it was Fabio Quartararo getting the best out of it and wringing the neck and running 110%, but it was also the Pecco's crashing 5 times. And, it was down to that as well, is that Ducati started the season off so terribly. And while Ducati were developing their GP 2022 with Pecco, their 2021 machine, their A-Spec bike, was winning with Bastianini, but he had, this is how it played out. Fabio's a champion. We know he can ride the Yamaha. We know how phenomenally good Fabio is. Pecco came into this year on this Ducati. He was going to be the champion. We all said it. But Qatar crashes, takes Jorge Martina, turn one of the brakes. Had a terrible start to the season, and he still came out and said, I'm not happy with Ducati. They want me to be a test rider. I'm not here to test parts and develop a bike. I'm here to climb on and win races. And that was his biggest handbrake. They were developing the bike the first half of the season, and only once they clicked and got it right with the GP 2022, you couldn't stop Pecco. But by then he had already had the 4 DNFs or whatever it was, the 3 DNFs or whatever. And while that was happening, and Bastianini was winning on the A-Spec Ducati with all that data from 2021, so it was plug and play. They didn't have to change a thing. We've got the gearing, we've got the rake angle, we've got the compression, we've got the rebound, we've got everything. And Bastianini went, woo, loving life, I'll go to Svaram everyone here and go and win. And that's what happened. Then Ducati made the stupid mistake of saying, oh, okay, now the factory riders between you, Jorge Martin and Enea Bastianini. And that got the riders all muddled up. And then Bastianini, the wheels fell off a little bit and he made mistakes. And that ultimately cost him his chance at the championship. And while all this was going on, Fabio and Yamaha also with their same bike since 1894, with all their data, was just going, okay, well, you guys, fall and make mistakes and have in-house fighting, and I'm just going to go me, and he did. He picked up wins and he got on the podium, and that made Fabio look and Yamaha look amazing and nothing's wrong, when actually the true reflection on Yamaha was with the Andrea Doviziosos, was with the Franco Morbidelli, was with the Darren Binders, who were going, stability is not good. Doesn't turn as well as people think. It has no top speed. And we were all going, not these rats, they're just complaining about nothing. Darren needs time, he's fine. Don't really look at him, but Davi, he's used to having a Foster caddy. But it was the truth. But Fabio was disguising the truth because of his dedication, his passion, and his natural talent. He was just riding on. But then as soon as Pecco and the 2022 clicked, and all the other Ducatis clicked, and Bezzecchi got comfortable on the A-Spec bike, and he's a rookie, he's got comfortable. Marini got comfortable on the 2022 bike. Jorge Martin had his arm surgery and got comfortable on the bike. Zarco got a little bit more comfortable with the GP 2022. Now, all of a sudden, Fabio's not just going up against a Pecco who's crashing. He's going up against, in some races, even the 8th Ducati, which was Digi, who qualified, was a pole position at Mugello somewhere. And that's what happened. And KTM have got better. And Aprilia have got better. But Yamaha haven't. Yamaha have not got better in the slightest. They haven't made 1% improvement over last year. Not 1%. So that's how this championship is played out. We all thought, this is it. And Fabio is just the next best thing, and he is. But it's not the full picture. The full picture is that Yamaha have let their riders down, and Ducati are taking full credit for in my eyes, they should be given full credit for what they've done. They've thrown 8 bikes, they've thrown 8 resources, they've thrown millions, gazillions, and everything else into it, and everything. Kurbis and Rossi complained for years that the Yamaha is too slow, and everyone said retire. And it was. I feel sorry for Rossi because his last couple of years, he went Foster at just about every track, and he was riding as hard as he possibly could. Yes, his age, but he was on an ailing Yamaha. He was on a Yamaha that was winning a world championship. The worst thing that could have probably actually happened for Yamaha was Fabio winning that world title last year, because it made them think we're okay. And meanwhile, they're not. That's why I said next year, if they think 2 or 3 Ks an hour are going to solve their problems, they are sadly mistaken. They are sadly. I'm not professing to be Simon Crafar and knowing everything, but from what I know and what I see watching from the side of the track compared to the other bikes, Yamaha are miles in terms of stability is the first thing. Actual acceleration out of the corners wasn't too bad. It really, the way it squatted and hooked up and went wasn't too bad. It doesn't carry it, once you get out of second gear and third gear, it doesn't carry the momentum as well as the other bikes. Stability, braking, and top end power, mid-range and top end power is where Yamaha need to make big improvements. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they take it from here. Spencer Veya's Yamaha issues started in 2017 when Vinales joined. They did. Vinales kind of also said, listen, guys, this bike, Vinales did point out that Yamaha's got its problems, but Fabio was winning. So it was like, listen, sit down and shut up. And look, we all know Maverick didn't handle it the best way and everything. And speaking about Maverick, I'm worried there. I've been singing his praises the whole year, saying that how mature he's been. He's happy and smiling again. And the last 2 races, looks like the old Maverick is starting to show his head. His debrief after the Phillip Island race was, again, not the greatest. A little bit of a dig at Aprilia again. So yeah, could we see another meltdown from Maverick? 2 months ago, a month ago, I would have said no. Now, there's a 10%, there's more and more doubt creeping in that, the more that this is not going Maverick's way after having this great couple of races and couple of months where he was on the podium in the top of Aprilia, and now he's kind of nowhere. Got up also up to about 7th or 8th, just beyond Brad, was with Brad, and then just fell off the end of the earth, did Maverick Vinales. So and that shows mentality, because okay, Brad dropped from 7th to 10th, but he dug deep. He does what Brad Binder does, and he just claws, and he just fights, and he just, the guy just doesn't know how to give up, and he kept himself in there. Whereas I think a Maverick just switches off and goes, oh well, I've got no more grip, the bike feels cock, so I'm just gonna blame that. Whereas Brad and other riders just don't. Brad will never ever point the finger. He will just make the best of every situation, our Brad. And it was another great ride. It could have been better, should have been better. Yes, 100% for Brad. Still sits 6th in the World Championship, which is phenomenal to think. It's absolutely phenomenal to think. I loved Brad's debrief after the race, where he said there was a lot of passing. It was fun. So again, just, he could have easily gone in there and gone, for F's sake, I'm tired of this, and. But he went in there with a positive frame of mind, took the positives out of what was a really, really tough weekend, and made the best out of it. Peter Garmany, Maverick, was doing 34s at the end of the race. I mean, that's mid-pack Moto 2 stuff almost. No, he does. He switched off. Maverick just went, I'm not going to even try and entertain this. So yeah, I'm keen to see what happens with Maverick and how Aprilia handle that. This is 2 races in a row now. It's a couple of races in a row now that Maverick has had these little digs at Aprilia, and we certainly saw at in Thailand, where he was bashing the bike and this and doing all kinds of things. How long will Aprilia tolerate that? We're paying you a salary. We saved your MotoGP career. We want you here to help us, not do that. So yeah, that's going to be a very interesting one. His front tire was toast, Joe. I know his front tire was toast. I can understand that, but Maverick has never been a rider that's been able to manage, and this was a management situation again, and he managed it terribly. I'm sure a lot of the riders, had tire problems, front or rear, but you got to make the best out of it. You got to dig deep. You got to, and I don't think Maverick's got that. Richard Hawkins, talk of Yamaha developing a V4. I think it is the way to go, although Suzuki proved that inline still has its place, certainly at fast-flowing tracks like that. But I think with 90% or 95% of the calendar stop-start, I think V4 is the way to go. I do. Ducati have proven it. Aprilia have proven it. KTM have proven it. If there were more Phillip Islands on the calendar, by all means, stay in line 4. But no, I think, like I said, I think Yamaha need to rub out whatever they've got on that board of theirs at the moment and go again. I really do. The problem is, how much development does Fabio want to do? How much energy has he got for development? Because they have got a big mountain to climb for next year. Maverick started the weekend well, then he fell off the bus, Rob Hepburn, and that's what happens to Maverick. He starts well, but if there's one little thing that happens, it just takes one little thing to trigger Maverick Vinales, and he battles, and he can't recover from it. He can't. He can't dig deep and find solutions, and that's why he's been one of the fastest riders forever, but he's never been able to win a championship, and he won't win a MotoGP championship because of that mentality. Will his captain make his buddy walk the planks? Ray Hendy. I think Aleix needs to have a word with Maverick, because Aleix was another big factor in Maverick getting getting that ride in the Aprilia squad. And he'll certainly be looking at him going, this is unacceptable behavior. This is unacceptable. You can't throw your hands and scream and shout, and you can't do it. You just can't do it. Brad's facial expression did not look very happy Sunday. Normally there's a smile somewhere. Natalie, I agree, but he wasn't happy. Brad's not happy finishing 10th. He's just not. And it was a flippin' tough weekend. God, it was a tough weekend. It was tough to watch. But again, him and the team dug deep. They got the best out of it. When he got up to 7th, I thought, this is it. If he can just get up into 5th and get into that battle, he'll just claw into the back of the tail pieces and hang in there. The reality was he had to use a lot of tire to get there. And that's something, Brad proved with his MotoGP podium. If you start higher up, that's job one. That's job one done. When you're starting from 16th, you just can't. Yes, he has proven it in past races, but MotoGP's moved to another level since then, and it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. But I looked at Brad, and yes, he was disappointed, but I could see there was still a bit of a smirk and a bit of a listen. It could have and should have been a lot worse. We got the best out of it. We were able to recover. We were able to, to get the best out of a cock weekend. Let's move on to Sepang. And that'll always be Brad. That'll always be Brad. Like I said countless times, I walk into his truck sometimes when he's at a bad qualifying or thing, and I'm expecting to see bottles of shit flown everywhere and helmets. And no, you get in there and hey Brad, sorry my bad. And he goes, yeah, you know what, it is what it is. And he'll have a little bit of a rant, but then he'll go, right, but this is the plan. This is the plan. So the guy he doesn't get flustered. He's just cool as ice. I think if you cut that open, it'll be an ice machine. You can just literally just hold your can of Coke there or your glass of Coke and just get ice blocks out of that guy. He's I think Trevor and Sharon made him drink concrete a lot because he's tough. He's hard. He's hard is our Brad. So I just hope they can get it right I just hope they can make a step in 2023, because I would love nothing than the fairy tale story of Brad Binder winning KTM's first MotoGP title in 2023 or 2024. I would love it. I would love it because it's that story of loyalty. It's a story of passion. It's a story of commitment, which is a bestseller. That's an ingredient for a bestseller. So yeah, let's see. Someone asked a question here now. Evan Crowcamp, maybe Aprilia RNF is keeping Darren from announcing his Moto2 ride as possible replacement for Maverick if he loses his shit properly again. Poop or scoop. Evan, I would love to think that. I would love to think that, and I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying because yeah. Andre Moritz, Maverick isn't part of RNF. So, Andre, what Evan, Denise Dennis, what Evan is saying is that maybe Aprilia or RNF are saying, Darren, don't announce anything for Moto2 just yet because it looks like Maverick's falling off a cliff here. Maybe we're going to give him the boot. Miguel Oliveira goes factory Aprilia, and then Darren, we're going to need you as our rider in RNF, or vice versa. Darren, go to the factory team or whatever. So I understand. I would like to think that. I would love to think that, but I don't think that. Unfortunately, Evan, I think the deal is very much done. I think Aprilia will give Maverick at least next year. He's got a 2-year deal, Maverick, but they'll at least give it next year, and then I'm sure there'll be some kind of clause in there from Aprilia's side that if you kind of pull any of those antics at any point of the season, as you pulled in Yamaha, we terminate your contract there and then. That'd be stupid if they didn't have that in there, to be honest. If I was Miguel Oliveira, I would be very worried about next year. The Aprilias were not good at all this weekend, and the team he's going to seem a bit lost for next year as well. Mark, I completely agree with you. I think Aprilia have hit a little bit of a brick wall the last couple of races. I still think it's a phenomenal package, and a rider like Miguel Oliveira will do very well on it. But as you said, only if the team can give him what he needs. And the current team, I don't think can. No disrespect, and I hate saying it because I've met all the guys, fantastic guys, but it's I haven't even watched football, Premier League football lately, but it's they're a relegation team that are trying as hard as they can, but just can't get it right compared to the big teams, that RNF team. So yeah, I'm sure Miguel is looking at going. I'm sure he's got some reservations about it all, but what other option does he have? The Cressini deal, I think, would have been a great deal for Miguel, but for some reason that fell through, and he landed in the RNF team on an Aprilia. So certainly, if he can get the Aprilia that Aleix Espargaro has, I think Miguel will do very well. I think Miguel will do better than what Aleix is doing, to be honest. I honestly believe Miguel Oliveira is a better rider than Aleix Espargaro. So let's see what happens there. Rob have RNF got a new sponsor. They've got that crypto data or whatever. It's a sub sponsor for the rest of this year. I think to accommodate with you, I don't know the full story there, but I've heard rumblings that with you haven't paid a lot of their bills and stuff, but that's just all speculation, so I don't know. RNF are always going to be looking for more sponsors because they started the beginning of the year. The with you sponsorship wasn't the 20-30 million that other teams get. It was a 15 million euro deal. Razlan came out and said it, and it's wasn't enough to run a MotoGP team. But yeah, they got that crypto data, and that could be something for next year. Run it for the rest of this year on the bike, and then next year we could see this crypto data Aprilia team. So yeah, look, it's good. It's always good to see sponsors coming into motorcycle racing and whatever, MotoGP, World Superbikes, local, whatever. So it's good to see them come in and put their money behind the best sport in the world. Johnny Martins, if the bike suits Ollie, he'll do well. If he has to develop the bike, he will jump ship. Johnny, I agree with you. I think Miguel made the decision. I think it was a two-way decision. I think KTM wanted a fresh approach, but I think Miguel also said, I'm running out of time. I don't want to develop anymore. I want to just climb on an established bike that works and go. So yeah, I think if he has to now develop again, I think it'll be tough for him. From what I've heard is that RNF team will get the Aleix and Maverick bikes from this year. So that could be very much plug and play for next year. Although, Honda are making a big change for next year. Yamaha are making a big change for next year. KTM are making a big change for next year. Whether or not this current Aprilia is going to be good enough, certainly the first couple of races it will be, because it'll be a Bastianini Ducati situation where you've got all the data, you've got all the gearing, you've got all the everything to get the job done. So I think Miguel's excited from that point of view. It's just whether or not the team can, the team had all Fabio's data from this year to give to Darren and Dovi, and they just didn't seem to be able to translate it as well as the factory team was. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Yeah, Sergio Miguel Costa, despite Aleix's victories, Aprilia do not have capable and consistent riders to that bike. Sergio, I agree with you. And I always had a hesitance about blowing up the chances of Aleix and Aprilia for the championship. Beginning of the year, every race I was kind of waiting for this little spell to happen, and it wasn't. Aleix was still up there, still winning races or on the podium or top 5, and you were like, okay, well, this is really good. I didn't see this coming, but I kind of knew that this was going to happen, where they would be battling. They wouldn't be that same Aprilia that started the season, certainly. And as Simon Crayford says, Marquez and the Honda have made a step. Ducati have made a step with all their riders. KTM have made a step. Suzuki are just, going with the flow, but certainly they loved the Phillip Island track, but Aprilia just seemed to go, okay, well, this is awesome, cool, let's maintain. And did they get caught out with that old resting on your laurels type thing? I think so. Mariska, good night. I think it is about time we're gonna end off now. A couple of Craig Sutton, all the way from Melbourne. Craig Sutton was at the Phillip Island MotoGP. So Craig, I'm sure you enjoyed that. Brian Ritchie, good night. Sleep tight. Same to you, my friend. Edwin Norris, is Miguel's contract signed with RNF or Aprilia? If Aprilia, then good move, as he will be number one factor on in 2024 when Aleix retires. So Edwin, apparently, from what I heard in the paddock, what lured Miguel away from the Cressini deal was that come sign with us with RNF Aprilia, because come 2024 you will get the first choice for the factory Aprilia ride, whether it be Aleix that leaves or Maverick leaves or whatever. So yeah, I think the deal is with Aprilia, not RNF. I think Aprilia's deal with RNF is that we supply you bikes and we pay for one of your riders, the same as the Yamaha deal now. Yamaha gave them, leased them bikes, and then they paid Dovi's salary. So next year's deal will be Aprilia will say, well, here's bikes, spares, and resources, and we'll cover Miguel's salary, or most of it, 80%, 70%, 90%, whatever it is. So I do think that is the deal. So let's see. Pit Barra has alluded that they will have a rocket ship for next year. Oh, sorry. What have you heard that you can share? So, Mark, I've pretty much heard everything that you guys have heard about the super engine that KTM are going to bring out. I do think there will be a lot of changes, because if I look at the personnel changes with all these big brains and these big heads from Ducati coming in, I think there will be big changes, and I'm excited. I sound like an idiot now. I'm excited to see it. I really am excited to see it. I do think KTM are going to make a big step next year, and that can only be an exciting thing for us as South African fans, with Brad there, for us as MotoGP fans, for KTM, and us as journalists and media partners. To see MotoGP getting better, that's always a good thing. So, geez, got like something right here. A frog or something. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. I really do appreciate the support. As I said, I'm really sorry for not bringing you the Paddock Talks on our YouTube channel from Phillip Island. I'll be doing it again for Sepang this weekend. Now that I've spent some nice quality time with the family, I can kind of get back into the swing of things. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for all the insight from your side. It's great to always interact, as always. Keep a lookout on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. Please do go watch as many videos as you can on our YouTube channel. I've finally got the monetization sorted out, so we can start making money off that. We'll keep you entertained with our Facebook page, our Instagram page. Our new digital magazine will come out soon, so to keep a lookout for it. I've got those really cool Brad Binder little models. I only bought 12. I've now had requests for 100 gazillions of them. They are very, very limited, so I want to try and get my hands on as many as I can, send them back to South Africa, send them to Valencia first for Brad to sign, and send them back to South Africa. So keep a lookout for that. Motor Rider World will always do everything we can to keep you entertained and keep you happy, and keep you Binder fans as close to the Binder boys as we possibly can, and all the other South African riders doing a fantastic job overseas. Again, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night. Have a great rest of the week, and look forward to Sepang MotoGP. Look out for my Paddock Talks on our YouTube channel, and then we'll talk MotoGP Monday night after the Sepang race. Thank you, everyone, so much. Good night. Sleep tight. Love you millions. Goodbye.